I spent about 15 years living as an openly gay man, and I never felt quite gay enough. And not because I was ever ashamed about being gay, but more so because I never felt fully at home in the most visible gay spaces available to me. And according to my anonymous middleman survey, I'm far from the only one. Only 1 in 24 gay and queer respondents reported that he felt very at home in the mainstream gay community. So in this video, I'm going to explain why some gay men come out of the closet but never quite feel a full sense of belonging in their community. I'll talk about what lack of belonging in community can do to a man, and I'll also talk about what I built for gay, bi, questioning, and unlabeled men who want community and belonging around more than just sexuality. And before this video is over, I'll show you the anonymous middlemen survey where you can see for yourself just how many men out there feel just like you. Because coming out of the closet and finding a home aren't quite the same thing. And a quick clarification before anybody misinterprets this. This is not in any way an attack on gay men, gay culture, or LGBTQ plus communities. Those communities gave me freedom, friendship, and very meaningful experiences during very important parts of my life. They just didn't feel like home to every part of me at all times, especially as time passed and I evolved, and I'm far from alone in that. Middlemen is not meant to tear down or replace anyone else's community. We don't have to tear down one room to build another. I'm simply trying to create an additional room for men who feel like they don't have one. And honestly, I'm building that room for myself too. So a little bit about me. I came out when I was 25 years old, and I lived the next 15 years as an openly gay man. And there were a lot of great things about that chapter in my life. I formed many friendships that I still have to this day. I had relationships. I attended gay events, destinations, beaches, bars, shows, and I had a sense of freedom that I certainly didn't have while I was hiding. It was a huge relief that for the first time in my life, my attraction to men was understood by the people around me and accepted and supported. But over time, I started to notice something. My sexuality had become the central organizing principle in my social life, while the things that made me feel most like myself were happening somewhere else. I wanted to surf more, and I wanted to dedicate more time and resources to playing and making music, my kind of music. I wanted to go to punk, hip hop, and metal shows. And later, I wanted to run trails and ultra marathons and train hard and focus on personal growth physically and mentally. But most of my gay friends didn't share those interests, but that's okay. Friends don't have to do everything together. But this went deeper than just hobbies. I rarely found all the parts of myself reflected in the same room. For example, in gay spaces, my attraction to men was understood, but my values, hobbies, interests, and ways of moving through the world felt different from the groups. And elsewhere, in other spaces that weren't specifically gay designated, my personality and interests were understood, but I wasn't always sure how people would react if they knew the full truth about my sexuality. So I moved between rooms, never completely certain that my whole self belonged in either one. And that gap between fitting in and belonging is one of the main reasons that I created Middlemen. But before I explain what I built, I want to show you just how common this feeling can be. When I created Middlemen, I also launched an anonymous survey. And one of the reasons behind it was research. But the main reason behind it was so that these men could answer the survey honestly, and then at the end of it, they could see the collective results. So they could see how many men out there felt just like them. So hopefully that would alleviate these feelings of loneliness, like they were the only one with these feelings. The survey is self-selected. It sits on the Middlemen website and anybody can take it. And I'm not claiming that these numbers describe every gay man's experience, but they reveal many important things about the guys that are finding middlemen. 24 respondents completed a section specifically for men who identified as gay or queer. Only one said he felt fully at home in the mainstream gay community. 1 out of 24. Over 45% said they didn't really feel like they fit in with the mainstream gay scene. And another 12.5% said they actively avoided it because it didn't fully represent them. Then I asked why. The most common answers were not confusion or denial or shame for being gay. They were compatibility. More than 68% said their values, hobbies, or interests felt too different. Over 72% said they didn't connect with nightlife, bar, or club culture. One respondent said, "Being gay is just one aspect of my life. It shouldn't be all-consuming." Another described his ideal community like this, quote, "Where shared interests, values, and beliefs form genuine friendships. Sexuality moves to the edges. More coincidence, less character." And that phrase stuck with me. More coincidence, less main character. These guys were not asking for a community without gay people. They were asking for a community where being gay was one part of the relationship, not the main reason for it. And trigger warning, because this section of the episode discusses suicide. There's another reason why I felt compelled to make Middlemen. I have known one of my closest longtime friends for roughly 30 years. We grew up together in Pennsylvania, and his younger brother ended up coming out as gay. And from what I understand, he struggled to find a place where he truly belonged. He had taken the enormous and courageous step of coming out of the closet, but that didn't automatically lead him to a place where he felt socially at home and fully understood. He later died by suicide in his early 20s. Now, I want to be careful about how I describe that because suicide is very complex. It's rarely responsible or even possible to reduce someone's death to a single cause or experience. I cannot say that his difficulty finding community is the sole reason that he's no longer with us. But I've never been able to forget that he came out, struggled to fit in, and still felt profoundly alone. And I can't help but wonder how many men out there are living with some version of that isolation right now. Some may be bi, questioning, or choosing to live without a label. From the outside, some may appear to be socially connected, while privately believing there isn't a single room where their whole self would be accepted and supported. I don't want another man to believe that his only options are to keep hiding, change parts of himself in order to fit in, or to face everything alone. And that's not an abstract mission statement to me. I genuinely want middlemen to reduce isolation. I want men to feel seen, connected, and understood before loneliness hardens into hopelessness. And yes, I hope that creating that kind of belonging can help save lives. Middlemen is not therapy, crisis counseling, or emergency care, but community matters. Being able to be yourself and speak your truth in a room full of people who accept and support you matters. Discovering that you're not the only one matters. And sometimes the first step in getting help is realizing that somebody else understands why you need it. And this is why the next survey results stopped me. The broader part of the Middlemen survey includes gay, bi, questioning, closeted, straight identified, and unlabeled men. Of the 89 respondents, over 72% said they felt like they didn't belong in either the gay or the straight world. Over 60% reported loneliness that they couldn't explain to anyone. And when I asked whether the hiding, the in-betweenness, or the feeling of not quite belonging had affected their mental health, over 70% said yes to some degree. Now, those numbers don't prove that any particular community caused anyone's anxiety, depression, shame, or loneliness. But they do show that the guys finding middlemen are carrying much more than a preference for different social activities. Many of them are carrying shame, fear, and loneliness. And many have spent years believing that nobody would ever understand the full story and that nobody else out there was like them. And this isn't just appearing in the Middlemen survey. In 2020, Yale researcher John Pachankis and his colleagues developed something called the Intraminority Gay Community Stress Theory. Most of the minority stress research focuses on rejection, discrimination, concealment, and stigma coming from outside of the gay and bi communities. But this research asked a different question. What stress can gay and bisexual men experience from inside their communities? The researchers identified 4 sources of perceived stress: a strong focus on sex, a strong focus on status, social competition, and exclusion of people who don't fit the community's most valued forms of appearance, masculinity, race, wealth, or desirability. The researchers found that perceived stress in those areas predicted mental health symptoms even after accounting for traditional minority stress and general life stress. That doesn't mean that the gay community is harmful, but a community can protect people from outside discrimination while still containing its own hierarchies and pressures. It can give one man his first true sense of belonging, while simultaneously leaving another man wondering, why do I still feel like an outsider? Both experiences can be real. So what did I do about never feeling completely at home? I stopped performing. I stopped treating my sexuality like it had to dictate my clothing, values, hobbies, interests, friend groups, politics, music, social life, and entire personality. I started to rebuild my life around the things that felt authentic to me and filled my cup. Playing and making music, trail running, fitness, the outdoors, personal growth, creative work. and friendships based on true compatibility in terms of values, hobbies, and interests. And then I created Middlemen, the content and community I was always searching for but could never find. And the overwhelmingly receptive response gave me another kind of evidence that this need was very real. I launched Middlemen without an established audience and with no background in content creation whatsoever. I was actually learning how to make YouTube videos while I was making the first few episodes. In fact, I'm still learning. But within the first 3 weeks, the first 3 videos received more than 80,000 views, and the YouTube channel grew to over 3,100 subscribers, and the online community grew to over 100 members. But those numbers aren't the part that matters the most. It's the hundreds of emails and DMs and survey responses and comments of men saying some version of, "Thank you for finally creating a space where I can be accepted and supported as my true self." Or, "I thought I was the only one. It's really great to see that there are other guys out there like me." That response doesn't prove that every gay, bi, or questioning man feels this way, but it does prove that this need is very real. There are men all over the world actively looking for a place like this. And until Middlemen, most of them didn't believe that place existed. Not a less gay community, and certainly not an anti-gay community, and not a group with strict rules about who qualifies and what everybody has to believe in order to be accepted, but an expanded community, another room, a place where sexuality can matter without defining the entire person, a place where a gay man doesn't have to prove that he's gay enough, and a place where a bisexual man doesn't have to prove that bisexuality is real, and a place where a questioning man doesn't need to choose a label before he's allowed to walk through the door, and where men can connect over shared values, hobbies, interests, health, work, faith, relationships, creativity, the outdoors, or whatever else gives their lives meaning. Middlemen is for openly gay men who never felt at home in the scene and are still looking for community. It's for bi and questioning men. It's for men who live privately, men who don't like labels, and men who simply want to be known as complete human beings irrespective of their sexuality. The most important thing you can do after watching this is take the anonymous Middlemen survey. The link's in the description and pinned comment. You don't need to provide your name or any information whatsoever, not even an email address, and you definitely don't have to identify as gay, bi, straight, or anything else for that matter. And after you complete the survey, you'll be able to see the collective results from everybody else who took it. That means you can see for yourself how many other men have carried similar experiences that may feel remarkably similar to yours that you thought were yours alone. Your responses will also help shape future episodes, articles, resources, and the Middlemen community. And they also help other men like you feel seen. So take the survey, answer honestly, and then look at the results at the end, because the thing you thought made you uniquely alone may actually be something that thousands or even millions of men around the world can relate to. So in conclusion, coming out of the closet and finding a home are not the same thing. Some men come out and finally feel like they belong, while others come out and find they're still standing in the doorway confused. Those men deserve a room too, and Middlemen is that room. Because for some men, belonging isn't merely a lifestyle preference. It can be part of what keeps loneliness from becoming hopelessness. I can't promise that a podcast or a survey or an online community can solve every problem that a man has, but I can help make sure that fewer men have to carry those problems alone without anyone knowing who they truly are, and accepting and supporting them as their true selves. And no matter how gay, straight, bi, masculine, feminine, out, closeted, certain, or confused you are, you're welcome here. Thanks for venturing into the middle with me. I'll catch you in the next one.